Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So today it is June 22nd. We are 5 days away from the first presidential debate. We're knocking on the door of like the full gear election season. We've already been in it. The presidential primaries ended at the beginning of the month, and Biden, he is in a lot of trouble. Now he is basically, and we've known this for a while, he wants a momentum change quickly. That's why he's doing the early debate. And even though we typically see a summer response bias in polling to the Democrats, and we saw it in 2016, 2020, 2018, 2022, you name it, there's not really been that much of one this time around. We have a new poll out of Rasmussen. Donald Trump leads by 9. Is he up by 9 nationally? It's an outlier. If I'm going to call out the Fox outlier, I'm going to call out the Rasmussen outlier as well. That's not to say that I'm just trying to appease the left here. It's to try and just kind of say that we need to view things as objectively as possible with as much caution as possible. So we typically don't have a false sense of complacency. This election is going to be a hard-fought election, and that it will be. That has to be our mentality. Should Trump win nationally by a, Nixon margin of like 1972? Absolutely. We don't live in that same country anymore. This is 52 years later. So do keep that in mind as we go into this election cycle. We got to get people registered to vote. We got to be our own ground game. They are going to have a ground game. The RNC will. But I mean, we have 182,000 people currently that are subscribed to this channel. And if they do their part, that's more than enough of a ground game to get Donald Trump elected to another term and to get rid of Joe Biden and to say, Joe Biden, you're fired. And to be the first election of the 3 that Trump would be able to say that, because he's never ran against an incumbent before. He's been in all 3 positions, running against somebody else who's not an incumbent, being an incumbent, and then now not being an incumbent, facing an incumbent. But I will say that the polls look good, and the swing state polls also look phenomenal for Donald Trump, and this is a well-oiled machine. And it's just building up. We covered the cash advantage in the last video. Trump now has more cash on hand than Joe Biden. And Biden spent a lot of money, but the polls have not moved. He spent how much on ads in Pennsylvania? Donald Trump leads in Pennsylvania by 2.3 percentage points. He's gaining in a lot of swing states, as we covered in the previous video. Now, on top of that, it's important to note that Trump is doing this in part because he's leaving no stone unturned. He's running a very good campaign, in my opinion. He is going to all the podcasts. Some people say it's not a serious campaign. He's chasing voters, people that are maybe a little bit disaffected. He's talking to people. He's reaching wider audiences. He went to the Libertarian Convention because he wanted to peel off potential libertarians, maybe not the, crazy Libertarian Party and the convention people, but to actually get the votes of like everyday libertarians. He went, he gave a great speech. He was booed relentlessly, but you know what? He stuck through it. I thought it was an awesome moment. One of my favorite Trump moments of the past 9 years, one could argue. But still, he's leaving no stone unturned, and he's chasing ballots in blue areas that he thinks he could do better in. And on top of that, he's delving into a core demographic that he's done well with, but he left a little bit off the table, I feel like, in 2020 and that's the white working class voting base, and they're big in number in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Polls usually underestimate Republicans by a lot in those last 2, Michigan and Wisconsin, especially Donald Trump, by the way. But you look at what's going on right here, right now. Donald Trump is getting potentially the endorsement of Teamsters. It's not official yet, but they went out there. They endorsed Biden proudly. Now their president, very large union, is going to speak at the RNC and snub the DNC. I think that an endorsement is coming. I really do. And if not, they're still iffy on Biden, which is a very good sign. And even though the UAW is going to stick with Biden because of their leadership, even they're on tape saying our members will vote their interests and a lot of them will vote for Trump. So that's like giving us a rhetorical endorsement, even though the corrupt union bosses in many cases are going to be opposed to it. But Teamsters, they've been more open to it. You know, Trump is somebody who's railing against illegal immigration. A lot of the jobs are going to illegal immigrants. The economic policies are not doing well for a lot of people, even though Biden is saying, well, we have low unemployment or whatever. It's much deeper than that. People can't afford homes. There's a lot of problems. Yeah, the stock market went up, but again, you adjust for inflation. It really has not gone up by much and was going up far greater at a higher rate under Trump, even during COVID. So you look at that and it's like, yeah, you can't even say that that's like a win for Biden. The economy is a mess in many different ways where it was not a mess before, and it's not really captured in that basic data. You know, partisan Democrats can buy the gaslighting, but undecided voters are not. And many of them are saying the economy, not only is it not getting better for them, but it's also getting worse. And Democrats are on defense, which is a major, major problem. I tell you, whenever you are on defense, you are losing. You're losing ground. This is true. And, you know, you could even point to Trump in 2020. He has to defend his record. You know, it's if the economy was still good, there was no COVID, he wouldn't be on defense. But you go back even further, 2012, Obama on defense. He did lose a lot of ground. You know, that was the sole exception, one could say, of somebody that's still able to get by while playing defense. But you talk about who's going on offense. Even Bush in 2004 was still going on offense about the war, about these other things that he was doing. Bill Clinton in the 90s, Reagan. You know, you tout accomplishments, you typically win re-election. Biden doesn't really have a lot of accomplishments to tout. Some insulin thing that he put in place that Donald Trump already kind of tried to put in place, then Biden kind of put a pause on it, and then I guess he codified it. But that's not impacting a lot of people in terms of the average cost that most people are paying for insulin. You know, some people might get discounts off of it, some people might not. But again, like that's your one victory. Can't exactly say that it is. And even the, you know, bills that he signed into law, the infrastructure bill, all these things, like you look at what's actually come of them so far, next to nothing, by the way, next to nothing. So you look at this, the largest blue collar union in the U.S. may be endorsing Trump. At a very minimum, they're giving him a lot of campaign fodder by speaking at the RNC, which is going to be huge, and it has to be huge, and it's in the Rust Belt. But you talk about the ability to go out there and just expand the coalition. It's exactly what Donald Trump is doing. It is. And you're seeing in every single poll, he's doing very well. He's doing well enough to win the Electoral College. The national polling, you know, that's still in limbo. But again, if Donald Trump is even just 50-50, maybe even loses the popular vote by 1 or 2, even if the Vox poll is right, Donald Trump still likely takes the election in the Electoral College, which is, again, absolutely huge. And that's something that people really need to understand. But Donald Trump, he's leaving no stone unturned. And Biden's campaign, they're not the ones with the cash advantage. What's next? Oh, but the ground game, they'll say. Which, again, I think we need to be our own ground game and act like they don't have a ground game, but that doesn't mean that they don't. You know, the RNC, they're saving a lot of money because they're allowing other organizations, other conservative organizations like, you know, Turning Point Action to go out there, have their volunteers, have them do the ballot chasing, which is a very comprehensive operation, and they're still building their own ground game themselves. They're doing it on multiple levels. You don't want to give the enemy the full playbook. You absolutely don't want to do that. And Republicans have always struggled in the ground game. 2016, that was the cope. Even beyond the polls, it was polls, money, ground game for Hillary Clinton. Didn't really bode too well. Now we hear about the ground game for Joe Biden, which again, you could look at this, by the way. In the state of Pennsylvania alone, they're bragging. They're saying, well, you know, Biden's campaign, because Trump opened a campaign office, they're saying, well, Biden's campaign is releasing a statement, and they said, well, we've been here for months, and we have 24 offices and more than 100 staff on the ground. 100 people? That's like 4 people per field office, which, again, I've seen field offices before for RFK Jr. What happens at a field office? People might make calls that they could have made at home, which people are doing on the Republican side anyways, and maybe they have like yard signs that people can come by and get. When in reality, Donald Trump, You just drive down the street wherever, you're going to see far more yard signs for him than you'll see for Biden, even in areas that kind of lean a little bit towards Biden. That's not to say that yard sign analysis is perfect, but what I'm saying is it's not like it's really moving the needle a ridiculous amount. It's really not. These field offices, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have them, but Hillary Clinton, even though they said, she didn't campaign in the Rust Belt after the election because they were coping, she had far more field offices in Wisconsin even than Donald Trump did, but Donald Trump picked off the state. So, rallies, they serve as a ground game. You have a lot of people that get drawn to them. There's a lot of factors that go into this thing. But to say, Trump can't win when he now has a ground game that he's building, he now has the polling that has him up, he has the money, they've hit him with everything, it's bouncing off. He's in a good position. He's running a good campaign. He's in the best political position of his entire political career, his entire life. He just got to go out there and win, and we got to get out and vote. So the debate's going to be interesting. But when you're on defense, you're losing. Donald Trump works best when he's attacking people going on offense. He's the marketing genius. He can brand people, hit them with a label, and it usually sticks. And I think he's got to let Biden talk. We'll talk more about the debate in the coming days for sure, but he's got to let Biden talk. The first debate last time, it was funny to see. Trump was getting hit with lies. He did want to jump in and respond. I get it, but you got to let Biden talk. You don't want the main focal point to be, Biden got bullied by Trump or whatever. You don't want people to feel sympathy for Joe Biden. You don't want Trump to even be the main focus of the debate. You want Biden to be the main focus because Biden is somebody who is so unpopular at this stage in the game, whereas if Biden's tripping over himself and Trump just stays on message and, defends himself well enough in his record and attacks Biden for Biden's record, well then, he's going to go out there and he's going to win the debate and he's going to win the election. He, I think, is going to employ my strategy. I think he will. That's not to say he shouldn't fight back. He absolutely needs to be ready whenever, not to jump in halfway during the section every single possible moment he can. I know the mics are going to be cut off, and I know that Trump's campaign agreed to it because they think that actually helps Trump. But, he's got to defend himself. He's got to flip it back on Biden when he needs to. Don't shy away. Don't be weak. Don't look weak. You gotta come out and you just got to show the American people that you have a better record than Biden. That's pretty much it. We'll get into it later this week. But you talk about what's going on. Donald Trump this weekend in Philadelphia, but then he's going to the state of Virginia after the debate, which is huge. People are upset. Why is he in Virginia, they say? Folks, Virginia's a close state this election cycle. You can say, I don't believe the polls, whatever, but you can't say, I believe the Fox National poll, but I don't believe the Fox Virginia poll, which, again, they are kind of slightly incompatible. But it is very believable because you see so many polls that are super tight in Virginia and even recent election results in Virginia. Yes, Donald Trump has a clear shot at victory in the state of Virginia. He absolutely has a clear shot at victory if the polls are anywhere close to accurate. So he's going to be going to the Virginia-North Carolina border, kind of, in Virginia Beach, which, again, there's some counties in that metro in North Carolina in a swing district. There's down ballot effects. He gets to campaign with Youngkin. And it's June. People are freaking out about this. They're upset about this. It's literally June. I don't know why they're upset. The New Jersey rally, people were upset too, but it made sense. He's on trial, it's close by, but then again, it's more about the Philadelphia metro. This is about Virginia as a whole. But again, if you're down by 2 points, test the waters. The polls in states like Michigan and Wisconsin, Trump was down by 10 points, and people were saying the same thing. Now, you could say, well, trends are real, but again, saying that trends are going to accelerate and they can't slow down or that they can't stagnate for some groups and then continue for others, that's also a lazy way of looking at elections, period. If you saw the same shift in 2020 everywhere, well, then Donald Trump would have won Michigan by about 11 points, and that didn't happen. So you talk about Virginia saying, oh, well, it moved left. It can boomerang. It can move right if the white college-educated population, you don't have the same level of support and turnout for Biden, which you probably won't have. And if Trump does make gains with white working class voters, Hispanics, which Republicans have in recent elections in Virginia, Trump could accelerate that shift. We don't know. But to say he can't try for it, when you look at the last two polls, they're tied. they're in dead heat. Like, that's just not really the best way of analyzing this election. I think it's good that he's going. Should he put as much time and energy there as he's going to put into a state like Michigan or Pennsylvania? No. But again, it's early. Test the waters. Make Biden defend it. He can cope and say, oh, it's just a big head fake. Well, Hillary Clinton said that about Wisconsin. We saw what happened there. But Biden did pour more resources into Virginia. Trump also putting up field offices in Virginia as well, and has more than Biden. So it's like, yeah, honestly, you're looking at the big picture here. Seems like Donald Trump in the state of Virginia, he's going out there and he's making a play for it. But the Biden campaign, they're a little worried too, or they wouldn't be doing that. So, these polls, you could say, well, they could be wrong. They could be wrong. But even if you apply the 2022 polling error in the same polls across several states, Donald Trump would win the 2024 election, which is astounding but true, and hopefully we can make it happen. But only we can make it happen. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.